The June meeting to order of the Shenandoah County School Board at 6:30 p.m. Ms. Shepherd, do you have a recommendation for closed session, please?
I do. I recommend the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to that effect, please?
Yes, I move that the Shenandoah County School Board convene a closed meeting under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act in order to discuss and consider several personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation under Virginia Code 2.2-3711A14.
Thank you, Mr. Barlow. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Roots. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passed by a vote of 6-0. Hopefully we'll be returning by 7 p.m. Okay, good evening. Do I hear a motion from my colleagues to reconvene in open session, please?
I move to reconvene in open session.
Thank you, Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes by 6-0 vote. The Shenandoah County School Board hereby certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public businesses matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening in closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Shenandoah County School Board. Each member responds, "I so certified," when called by the clerk.
Ms. Walsh,
I so certify.
Mr. Gutschall,
I so certify.
Mr. Barlow,
I so certify.
Ms. Roots,
I so certify.
Mr. Keller,
I so certify.
and Mr. Hudson.
I so certified. This evening, the invocation and the pledge will be done by Mr. Keller. First, we have a former employee that passed away, Shirley Cronk Renner, from the paraprofessional from the Northern Campus. We have a moment of silence in memory of her. Thank you. Mr. Keller.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together as a group of people to support our students, teachers, parents, and all those tasked with educating our youth. Give us the wisdom to make decisions that enhance those in our care. Help us to value each member of our community from smallest to biggest, and to recognize the contributions and needs of all. Be with us as we try to pursue excellence, and help us realize that while our methods, strategies, and philosophies may differ, our goals are often united. These things we pray. Amen.
Amen.
This day our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. Ms. Shepherd, do we have recognitions this evening?
We do. Will Dr. David Hungarter come up and recognize our 2023 Administrative Leadership Academy?
All right. Thank you, Chairman Helsley and board members, and Ms. Shepherd. Thank you for giving me the honor and privilege to recognize some folks this year who have completed the Administrative Leadership Academy that we were able to get reestablished this year. These folks participated in shadowing experiences at all 3 levels and a number of sessions here at the school board office with department leaders, as well as building principals and assistant principals who helped to provide some information with them and for them to think about aspiring to be building administrators. So I appreciate you all very much. There's a few that weren't able to be with us this evening, but I appreciate your professionalism, your curiosity, and your enthusiasm in the program going through it, and I hope you found it beneficial. So at this time, I'd like to give you a certificate. Ms. Cheryl Morgan. Thank you. And Ms. Becky Reynolds. Becky. And Ms. Meredith Zirkle. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, thank you. Dustin Thomas is not able to be with us this evening, nor is Derek Hartwig, nor is Megan McKee. However, Matt Chandler is able to be with us. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir. And we had one more participant, Zach Wilmot. He was not able to be with us either. So, again, just want to give those folks a round of applause. Thank you all.
Thank you all for taking that on. I only know Cheryl and Becky personally, but I know that, you know, in this day and age, we really need administrators with strong instructional backgrounds, and I know for sure we've got that in you guys, and I'm sure the others that I don't know as well. So thank you. Thank you for taking it on.
Other comments by board members? Okay, thank you, Dr. Heingardner. Okay, moving on. Shenandoah County School Board welcomes public comments during regular meetings and during public meetings. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting or the hearing. Each speaker may speak up to 3 minutes. The speaker should conclude their remarks at the end of 3 minutes. The board generally allows up to 30 minutes for public comments on agenda or non-agenda items. If there is a large number of speakers, the board may reduce the time. All comments should address a matter related to Shenandoah County Public Schools. Complaints regarding division employees should be directed to school principal or an appropriate school division official. The school board expects that each speaker be courteous, modeling for the students how one can respectfully disagree with others' views. Speakers will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member or to the superintendent, to a staff member, or to the audience. Speakers will not engage in personal attacks. Speakers will present their comments from the podium provided for them. Each speaker was asked to sign a document as you entered the boardroom here, and I will call them as they are signed up. Thank you, Ms. Hodges. Anyone who didn't sign up would like to speak? Mr. Heisman.
Good evening, school board members. Ms. Shepherd, hope everybody is enjoying the summer. I wanted to speak just a minute on the education at Triplet Tech. That school was built in, I think, about 1965. It was there 12 years before I got out of high school, and since then, you know, as I look back, there are many people that are business owners today and or in some type of a trade that they learned at Triplet Tech. And to me, it's exciting to see that when the school year starts back up here in August, that there's going to be at least 2 new classes or trades offered there. And that is a very positive thing for the workforce coming up in our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Gutchall. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed by a 6-0 vote. Okay, going on to information agenda. Dr. Heingardner, I think you are first in section 4, please. Information about policies.
Yes, what you'll see in the information agenda space is 3 policies, or 3 documents. The first one is policy DJ-R, and you will see that come back up in action, under your action agenda item there for your consideration, as that one was presented last month, and it has to do with increasing the amount for getting bids and so forth, which would make that process a lot simpler now with the cost of things and how they have risen. But the other 2 documents that are there, the policies that have been reviewed but not revised, and then the all-in-one document of I believe there are 46 new policies in that all-in-one document. Just makes it a whole lot easier to be able to go through one document. So those 2 are there for your information, and would be able to be brought back next month if you prefer, if you want that to have an action item on it, or you may want to deliberate on those in meetings in between before the next meeting. So just wanted to share what's there in that under that agenda item for you.
I did go through those 129 pages
Right.
and 46 policies. I would request, if you can, to have that reformatted into something where we could have a list of the 46,
Mm-hmm.
and then just a link every time we want to drop down in the document to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm requesting of the board is that, Brandy and I are on the policy committee. We'll be reviewing these. But I would like to invite any of the other members to take a look at those, any one of those that is of particular interest in them. These aren't small items, smoking, vaping, drugs, attendance policies, student behavior. I mean, there's some big stuff here. And I know that there aren't necessarily big changes in each of these, but we may want to look at those anyway and see what the new changes are. So I think so that everybody can kind of get through this without trying to go through all the pages. It might help each individual member to go to their kind of the pet rock and go for that. And it would certainly help Brandy and me probably be able to get our arms around it easier. And I think this would be a really good topic for us at a work session, at the next work session, so we can talk these over and see if any of these need any further refinement. So that I don't think that's too much of a...
No, we can do that.
Okay.
No problem.
All right.
Excuse me.
Okay.
No problem.
And are the proposed changes, the underlined portion, is that
Are they under what?
the underlined?
Yes.
That-
Yes, the additions are underlined and the deletions are struck through.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is all coming about because of the end of the General Assembly session?
Yes, that's
Okay.
usually when we get the bulk of them.
Okay.
2 other times throughout the year, we might get 6 or 8 or 10 or 11, but at this time is when we get the bulk.
Okay. Thank you.
And you did indicate that some of these have a very short fuse in terms of suspense.
Well, some of them do go into effect July 1st.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
we do have, especially those, if we have any, and of course, there's no shelf life on these. We can still
Right.
act on them as far as policy is concerned.
Right. And
Okay.
if if they weren't in effect, we would fall back on current, what's in effect now. But
Okay.
we want to try and be as close to that mark as we can.
Okay. One more, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
As you're well aware, we've been looking at the review of the library selection policy. And Dr. Heingartner has provided the committee, the policy committee, with some really good background information. And again, with your permission, I'd like to talk about what Dr. Heingartner has produced and then what the committee would like to do before we present it back to the board writ large. So with your permission, while Dr. Heingartner is in front of us, I'd like to kind of...
Go right ahead. Objection? Any objection? Go ahead.
Okay. So in April, Dr. Hungartner was good enough to produce 3 documents for us. One was the guiding questions for policy development for selection and purchase of library books. The second was library selection and purchasing procedures. This, I believe that Dr. Hungartner did with talking with each of the librarians. So
Right.
kudos to you for
That was feedback.
going to
from
those
this
folks
one.
and getting that and providing that's a really great background for us. And then the third thing was a collection of curation examples for selection criteria. So this is terrific input for us to be able to look at. And this month, Dave has provided to us kind of a one-page, I'll call it a notional policy based on that. Now, what Brandy and I have been doing on the policy committee is looking at other policies that have to do with library selection materials. And we have a couple of states that we found that already have these, and we've melded those together. So our goal is, the committee, is to by the next meeting, the full meeting, and maybe even by the work session, have some background on that so we can present it to the committee for action as soon as possible, because we realize that the librarians want to be about their business of selecting materials. So when the committee meets and has a kind of an idea, Dr. Hungartner has agreed to get him and anybody else on the staff that you'd like to have come, and a librarian or two, if that would be helpful, to kind of discuss the viability of some of these changes before we actually present it back to the board writ large. So that's the way the committee would like to proceed. Dr. Hungartner, I think, that's something you can do with us
We can
as we
certainly
go
do that.
forward. And so that'll be our plan, Mr. Chair.
Can you just
Question?
let the full board know when that meeting's gonna be?
Sure.
Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on. Ms. Simon, I think you have the next couple of items. According to my good colleague to the left, you got 4.
I sure do. There we go. All right, thank you. So the first one is the request to increase the budget for the Reserve Perkins Fund. Now you will see all 4 of these on for action, and the reason for that is because of the short turnaround in the end of the fiscal year and needing to request the Board of Supervisors to also appropriate the funds for us as well. Their meeting is Tuesday. So if there's any questions or reservations, we can certainly take that into consideration. The Perkins funds, this is from their spending year 21. These were from reserves that were not spent by other divisions, and they are reallocated out. It's ends up being a little over $1,800 for us. That was that one. Any questions on that? The second one is an increase due to a grant for recruitment and incentive for public education. It's the RIGHT grant. Mrs. Hodges put in for this, and it is the General Assembly is supporting recruitment efforts to hire and fill vacancies for critical shortage areas and hard to staff vacancies. And we had 3 teachers that were eligible for this, and we received $10,000 for this. The third one is a pilot program, and this is the Grow Your Own. We had 1 eligible teacher for this. This is somebody that actually graduated from one of our high schools. They went to a higher education in the Commonwealth, and then they came back and are teaching here now for us. So we had 1 eligible teacher and received $7,500 for that. And finally, this is a big one, and it kind of goes to what Mr. Heisman spoke about. But we are receiving first time we've been eligible for this because of the HVAC program that we will be having next year. It's $125,000 CTE for skilled programs grant that we will be receiving actually in the next couple of weeks for the HVAC program.
Questions for Ms. Stein?
On something, you said that the Board of Supervisors, this stuff has to be allocated by July 1st?
By June 30th.
By
These are
June
funds
30th.
that we're receiving this year.
Okay. Does that apply for everything? I mean, I believe at the last meeting I said something regarding the leftover funds from our budget, about $85,000, $89,000.
No, that's FY24.
That's FY24, so we can do that. What I'm concerned with is making sure that we have those discussions about pushing it back to, I had asked for us as a board to discuss possibly reallocating those funds back to the Sheriff's Department to fund his school resource officer position that he's wanting.
Yeah, that's completely a different. I'm talking FY23 tonight. So that is an FY24 discussion that we can certainly have, and that would be in the revenues that we're receiving from them for that fiscal year.
Okay, but that doesn't have to be once it's allocated. We don't have to wait till the end of the year to do that. We can do that at any time.
Anytime.
That's
Yes.
what I wanted to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. This is all great. Thank you.
All right.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, going on to action items. Do I hear a motion on 5.1, please?
I move to approve the grading practices and procedures as presented.
Motion made by Mr. Gutschall. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Roots. Discussion.
I'm thrilled. Thank you. I know that this is going to be probably a little difficult for some of our students to realize that they can't show up and just necessarily get a 50 for showing up. But at the end of the day, and once school is over, you're going to enter the real world, and they don't pay you for just showing up. I'm glad that you made the change, and the grading committee decided that it was worth going back. So
I think if we want to try to get better results and seek higher standards, then that's what we have to prioritize. So I think it's great that we're going back to what we had prior, and I think that'll help with trying to get some better results for our students, and I think the teachers will be pretty supportive as well. So I'm definitely all for it as well.
Other comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hustle.
Yes. The motion passed by a 6-0 vote. Action item number 5.2. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the request to increase the fiscal year 2023 budget in the amount of $1,858.60 for Reserve Perkins Fund.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hustle.
Yes. Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. 5.3, action item. Do I hear a motion to that effect? Colleagues?
I move to approve the request to increase fiscal year 23 budget by $15,000 and appropriate funds for the recruitment incentive for public education.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Walsh. Discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hausman.
Yes. Motion carried by a 6-0 vote. 5-4. Do you hear a motion?
I move to approve the request to increase fiscal year 23 budget by $7,500 and appropriate funds for the Grow Your Own Teacher pilot program.
Thank you again, Mr. Keller. Do you hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Roots. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hausman.
Yes. That motion also carried by a 6-0 vote. 5-5. Do you hear a motion?
I move to approve the request to increase the FY 2023 budget by $125,000 and appropriate funds for the state-funded CTE Competitive Skill Trade Program grants.
Thank you, Ms. Rooks. Do I hear a second?
Second.
That's a no with Mr. Keller.
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hausman.
Yes. That carried by a 6-0 vote. 5-6. Food service contract with Southwest Food Service. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the contract amendment with Southwest Food Services to extend the food service management company contract for one additional year from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024.
Motion made by Ms. Rutz. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Second by Mr. Barlow. Discussion.
I am thrilled to death that this is going so well. I was looking at the nutritional report and how many, just for the last month, and just the numbers kind of played with my mind a little bit. I'm glad that it's going well and we've got a great response.
Other comments? I do have one question about this, and you probably will not be able to answer this. Can whoever is in charge of ordering food, can they order, I'll give you, our Rurtan Club is selling onions and for a service project. Can they purchase onions from our Rurtan Club? I don't expect you to know.
I don't know the answer.
I'm growing some tomatoes.
These are excellent onions that we get from this, I think Georgia, about 80 onions. 10 pounds for $10. You can't beat that anywhere. But anyway, if someone could get with me on that, our club has a number of extra bags. Or anyone else in the audience. Okay, any other discussion? I thought I would break something up here and here. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hausman.
Yes, that motion carried by 6-0. 5-7, policy and regulation updates. Do you hear a motion?
I move to approve regulation DJ-R purchase procedures as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Rutz. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keller. Discussion. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Roots,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. Hausman.
Yes. Motion carried by 6-0 vote. 5-8, personnel. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve the personnel list as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Rutz. Roll call vote.
Mr. Barlow,
Yes.
Ms. Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Gutschall,
Yes.
Ms. Ritz,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
and Mr. House.
Yes, that motion carried 6-0. Going on to 6, Superintendent Report Monthly. Ms. Shepherd, do you have any comments?
I do, a few. Our schools were very successful this year in athletics. At the state track meet, the Strasburg High School girls track team won the state championship. And the Strasburg High School 4x800 relay team of Claire Keith, Paige Haserman, Tony Rhodes, and Megan Martin won the state championship. And Macy Smith won the girls long jump. Mountain View High School's Stuart Pirtle won the 110 hurdles and the 300-meter hurdles. Central's Asia Hoover won the girls 400. The Central High School girls tennis team won the Region 2B championship, and Central's #1 doubles team, Mallory Hutton and Peyton DiNardo, were the Region 2B champs. Several teams finished as Region 2B runner-ups. The Central High School's girls soccer team, Mountain View High School's boys track and field, Strasburg High School's boys soccer, and Strasburg High School's girls softball team. Congratulations to all our student athletes who participated in these events. And then also for academics, we would like to thank all of our students and staff for another great school year. Congratulations to the class of 2023. In total, students earned over $4.18 million in scholarships this year. Over $375,000 of that were local scholarships. Mountain View High School student Rosa Fonseca was awarded the Granville P. Meade Scholarship, which is a $2,000 per year scholarship for 4 years, and that was a late add. We also have 222 elementary and 115 middle school students enrolled in summer school, and I think Miss Meredith Circle is one of the principals of our summer school program. That's a total of 337 students from elementary and middle school that are attending summer school. So, great news.
Okay. Any further questions of her? Okay. I think this may be one of our shortest meetings ever. All right, board comments. Who would like to start? Ms. Walsh, I'll start down here with you, please.
Okay. I don't have this comment completely in order because I was not going to do it tonight, but because Becky Reynolds is here tonight, I'm going to try to cobble it together. So we were talking about teacher retention and how important it is, and how important it is to keep the teachers who have a lot of experience. And just recently, Becky made a post on Facebook about Pam Spiegel and how Pam was her mentor when she was a new teacher, and how that helped to shape her as a teacher, as a very successful teacher at W.W. Robinson. And that was just a sort of a perfect example of both new teachers are great because they've become experienced teachers, but also we need to keep the experienced teachers here to be the mentors. And I don't know you guys, your personal stories, but I know Becky's, because all my kids said Pam. So we just need to make sure that we are continuing to support our teachers, to respect our teachers, and respect them as professionals, not speak down to them or try to assume that we know more than they do, because they're the professionals. They went to school for this. So anywho, it would have been better if I had time to prepare, but since you were here, I figured I'd say it. I was going to congratulate a bunch of the sports teams, especially the ones where I know and have kids playing. Mine aren't on there, but we have a lot of friends. The Strasburg High School girls track winning states is amazing. Central girls tennis making it to states, and Central girls soccer making it to states. And man, that was a good game. They lost in second overtime 0-1, so that was very evenly matched. And then also, Stuart Pirtle, you mentioned at Mountain View. I believe he was the first student ever, certainly in Shenandoah County, but maybe in the state, to ever qualify for 7 events. at States, and he is a junior. So that kid is going to do some great things.
And I think Mr. Dorman told me that he beat one of his brother's records at the state championship, I believe. So yeah.
his father had the record, and then the son beat the father's record, and then Stuart beat the sons, the other sons from different marriage. But yeah, it's crazy. It's been in that family for generations. I wanted to thank the Sheriff's Office and the SROs. This week is their leadership camp, and I keep getting little reports from other moms who are checking in every day on their kids. And the kids are having a great time. They did book club last night, and it was a big success. And it's an amazing program, and I really appreciate the SROs for doing it. They come back exhausted, but the kids learn a lot and build great relationships with our deputies. And then I wanted to thank all the staff who are helping with summer school, or running summer school this summer. I know it's a big commitment after the school year is over, so I really appreciate that you're willing to do that. That was it.
Okay. Dennis, would you like to go next, or you want next to last?
Next to last.
Mr. Gutschall.
Congratulations to the athletic teams at Central, Mountain View, and Strasburg. And also looking forward to working with the new folks. There's a lot of new faces on the Central campus for this upcoming school year, especially administrative-wise. So I look forward to working with them as we get ready for the school year in the fall.
Thank you. Ms. Ritz.
Just to piggyback off of Mrs. Walsh, as far as teachers go, I think that, on the back end of things, once something happens within our organization, there's a grievance procedure. But I'd like to see a grievance procedure on the front end of things. So, as administrators, as teachers, there's got to be some cohesiveness and some openness to be able to have some honest, open conversations about things that are going on, whether it's discipline, whether there's something not working, such as iReady or whatever that happens to be. And I find at least that there is a perception, and I've heard it several times, that within our buildings, the need to treat each other with respect as professionals, and not so much a hierarchy in certain spots, or colleagues. So at the end of the day, students are what we're putting out here. We service the public, and we want a good product. We want our kids to leave here with having to achieve the highest possible that they can. We want them to have a great experience. We want them to, we have teachers. I know I have teachers that still to this day I adore, and I've been out of school for a really long time. So, we need to go back to the point that not only does the public treat our teachers with respect, but so do we treat each other with respect within the buildings. And I think that there's some, what it comes down to, needing to fix something, or seeing something, saying something, or not feeling that you can go to an administrator, not have an open conversation without, again, the big word of the year is retaliation. I think that we need to come up with something that we have, promote those open and honest conversations, and we look at each other and go, okay, I understand this isn't working. Let's find what we need to do to fix it. Is the student, a constant issue, discipline? What have we done? It's not working, so let's try something else. So I would like to do that, to have those conversations and see if there's something we can come up with to where, a grievance procedure or something that teachers would feel comfortable going, this isn't working, and, I'm afraid to go to my administrator over that. And then again, the $89,000, I would like to see that on our discussion, maybe during the work session or something. Our SROs are important, and they do a lot as well, and they're a vital part of our community. And I think the need to make sure that there's coverage in our schools with a live person who can assess situations is important, and I'd like to have those discussions. Otherwise, thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Mr. Keller.
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Barlow.
Well, first thing I'd like to do is thank the superintendent for, I think, facing up this last year to the shortfalls that we've seen in academic performance over the last 6 years, and actually owning it as something that she inherited and something that we had to deal with, and something that wasn't going to be hidden any longer or not attended to. And I've several times alluded to the fact that changing that mentality and that operation is a lot like turning an aircraft carrier around. It takes a lot of effort, but you have to turn that wheel and just head into the headwinds and take it. And I think the leadership training programs that she started and the personnel changes that have occurred kind of presage success, at least improvement or efforts to do so. And I think we're already seeing it pay off. So I want to congratulate her and staff and the teachers, who I think are living this out and understand better than any of us how important it is to get back to those principles and rudiments of education. The second thing, because I don't want to be too positive about stuff, is that once upon a time when we were having the discussions about the name change, I received a lot of very interesting emails. And I began dialogue with several people who emailed me about they weren't particular fans of my position, and have a dialogue with those folks. Well, one in particular has gone for quite a while, and you'd probably know who this gentleman is. I'm not going to mention his name, but eventually we got to the point where we came to this one particular point of disagreement, which is I felt that it is imperative that our culture, our society, defend and uphold the concepts of Western civilization as captured in our Constitution. And this gentleman felt that he, in quotes, was not a fan of Western civilization. And at that point, we stopped dialogue, because I think at that point there's not much communication left. And that's been kind of gnawing at me for the last few weeks. And I'm going to tell a stupid story, but I'm sorry. Sometimes God sends interesting events in your life. And so I was on vacation with my wife in Scotland, and she had a tumble. She fell. And she hurt herself, and more than that, she was emotionally shaken. And this happened about 3 o'clock in the morning. In the Highlands, and I was afraid. I was scared. And so I got on the phone with United Airlines and tried to find a way back home quickly, and I was afraid. So I made some stupid decisions at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. Steve Heichman, if you'd called me an hour later, I could have talked to you. Just as a segue here, I've got to tell everybody this story. 1 o'clock in the morning, I was awakened by a phone call, none other than Steve Heichman, wanting to know why I wasn't at the North Fork FFA banquet. And when I told him it was in Scotland, he said, cheese and crackers. Only the way Steve Heichman can say it. Anyway, if I talked to you an hour later, I might have been okay, because an hour later I was a basket case, because I was on the phone for 3 hours with agents who didn't speak English and trying to get things done or whatever. And so I made a decision to pay an enormous amount of money to get home, like the next day. And if I had just considered, just stopped. Do you remember when we took the training for security on the computers? And the one thing they told us was, when you run into a problem like that, stop stop and think. Well, Barlow didn't stop and think. Barlow just got scared and took what he thought was a quick and easy way out, which was a quick and easy, expensive way out. Okay. So what does it have? Well, I think it hit me that a lot of times when life hits us with issues, we react out of fear rather than out of principle, or fear rather than out of good sense. And I think that has seeped into our educational system, where we are afraid of somebody who's going to sue us. We're afraid of somebody who's going to say the wrong thing to us. We're afraid if we take the wrong political side that there's going to be blowback. And so we react out of our fears instead of out of our principles. And of course, my wife didn't think that this message had to do with the school board, but I did. So I think going forward, I see a lot of attacks on our system that I think we as individuals would be abhorrent to accept personally, and we know they're wrong. But because we feel that there's a public, I won't say public opinion, let's say a general opposition by those who are opposed to us, who could scare us or rattle us or have us worried about promotions or being called names or whatever threats or fear that they can instill in us. And I think, I think of FDR's comment that sometimes the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. So I hope as we get ready for the next year, and I know it's only June, but I also know you guys are preparing every day for next year, that we operate out of what's right and wrong and good and bad and principles, and try to put our fears aside and do what's right for the kids, because they're just too young to know. Everybody can talk about how much power and authority these kids should have. I do not believe a 10-year-old boy has the right to make a decision to chemically castrate himself. And I think that, I'm not saying we're doing that in our school system at all. I'm just saying that the targets for these people are unfortunately our kids. And we owe it to them not to operate out of fear. So with that, again, I applaud current administration for, I think, it's a very positive way forward. I think we've got a great system. I think we've got wonderful personnel. And I don't want us to be sidetracked by fear mongers who would divert us because we're scared. That's all, Chair.
Thank you. Wife, you doing better?
She's got me to look after. How could she be anything but, no, she's doing fine.
All
Thank
right.
you. I appreciate you asking.
I got a couple things. First of all, it was a good month, graduation. I got some things to do, but first of all, I want to highlight something that we had in consent agenda. That's donations. And this month, Cave Ridge Vineyard donated $7,000 to the Culinary Arts Program at Triplet Tech. And I asked Ms. Shepherd, I would like to know how much donations we got for the school year 22-23. And her good secretary tabulated, and I was astonished how much in cash was $134,000, and in non-cash value was $64,000. So that's almost $200,000 that we did not have to ask for, because the general public sees the value of the education we have here. $200,000. If you want to see them, I have them. And then, of course, I start my day very early, as you know, but the North Virginia Daily, even though they have dropped off covering, but they selected a story on the front page for all three high schools, and its central was O'Dane and Isaac Dodd. O'Dane was an orphan that his parents adopted from Jamaica. and I know the parents very well. I talked with Jonathan at Muhlenberg, and this young man is living the American dream because of a set of parents. So that was inspiring. And then at Strasbourg, Aurora Reinhardt, I didn't know her. I read the story. At the end of the story, she decided at the beginning of the school year they were short of help in the cafeteria, and she contributed without being asked. So she's going to Longwood. And then at Mountain View, Miss Dellinger, that got accepted with 4 or 5 Ivy League schools, is doing well athletic-wise. It's amazing. And how the principals of 3 selected those fine people, but I know there's more that graduated that could have been written about. We got great kids here. We got a great community. And also, Sandy Hook Elementary, we talked about attendance that we're not making with the requirements at the state. They had 7 students that had perfect attendance, and I don't think that is emphasized as much as it once was. When I was in school, and probably excluding Kyle here, perfect attendance, some students would have 8 years or 12 years of perfect attendance. But we need to get back to that. Okay, and also on your desk, colleagues, is a narrative that someone sent me, a thrilling experience. And Ann Wallinger sent this to me, and it was written by her grandmother in 1935. And it's a short narrative, and it's well written, especially when she said she's riding through the orchards on horseback. So please take that and at your convenience or whatever. And then finally, I got a couple other things. First of all, we got 2 new superintendents in our area. Larry Shiflett is in Rockingham. I have met him a couple times. And in Clark County, we have a Central graduate, Rick Catlett, that was appointed, who will start July 1, which his family were both educators, and he's been in Clark County, I think, over 30 years. And then finally, it's amazing, the chairperson didn't have much authority, whatever. But anyway, I had a parent call me, who I know very well. Their son graduated from Mountain View, and I'm going to mention his name, Michael Spar. And the mother said, Marty, you signed both of his certificates. A young person looking at his diploma realized that my name was on it. And so that's a few things that I recall. And actually the only one I gave was Central High School, and I think they shared it with the other 2 without my permission. On that note, I adjourned the meeting at 7:53. That close?